welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's great to have you here to have a chat about DevOps. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Let's start by talking about organizational culture because, we all know that creating the right conditions is key to success. How can a DevOps leader shift their company culture, let's say, towards a generative culture that's more performance-based as opposed to the traditional rules-based or power-based?
Yeah, well, I think first let's look at what culture is, because to me, often it's a concept that can be interpreted in many ways.
Yeah, it's a bit of a buzzword.
It is a bit of a buzzword, and it seems like if you change the culture, everything will be all right. To me, culture is about shared values as individuals in a team, in an organization. So if you think about DevOps culture, I think it's about what are the values that we need to believe in, that we need to be together and believe in order to make the things we like to do with DevOps make a success.
Yeah. And what kinds of values are they that are in let's say, that generative culture that's more performance-based? We all know the traditional paradigms of a bit power-based as it used to be and rules-based when you've got a bit more bureaucracy. Obviously with DevOps, it's more, that generative culture is a lot more performance-based. What kinds of values would you say go with that kind of culture?
Well, first of all, I think the type of performance that we want to achieve with DevOps, that is where it starts.
Yeah.
Because in the other cultures, there's also a type of performance, but it's a different performance.
Yeah.
It's a performance that is more based on efficiency, for instance. While what we try to accomplish with DevOps is reducing our time to market of the systems we create.
Yeah.
So we need a culture that supports this different way of working, that supports a performance.
Yeah.
Some of those values is that we value collaboration.
Yeah.
That's important. What we value is a blameless way of working where experimentation is allowed and is valued.
Yeah.
Another value that I think is important is that teams can work autonomous, have a lot of freedom to decide on the how of how they do their work.
Yeah.
So if we value those aspects, then that should be part of this generative culture.
Yeah, I understand. And I'd like to pick out one of those things. You mentioned collaboration. DevOps success is very much underpinned by those collaborative work environments.
Yeah.
But what steps can you take on a practical level to promote that collaborative way of working?
Well, then again, collaborative working is about, it should in the end result in specific behavior. It is about what people do and don't do. It's about what people say and don't say. So in general, if we talk about culture, we should transform it into behavior. And only when we have a different behavior, then it will result. So the first question is, of course, what does collaboration mean and how does collaboration look like? Because you and I could have a different opinion about what collaboration is and how it shows on the work floor.
Yeah. What kinds of behaviors do you see in a DevOps environment that's highly collaborative?
I think key of collaboration, maybe as an opposite of cooperation, is that it is a higher goal. We have a higher objective. We don't have our own objectives, but we work towards a higher goal.
Yeah.
Only if you have a shared goal, shared objectives as a team, as an organization, then collaboration can happen.
Yeah.
What I think about collaboration is that there should be an interest and an understanding of the other persons you have to collaborate with.
Yeah.
Because we need to collaborate. Well, you have a different view of the world than I have. You have your own backgrounds, your own education, your own experience. and I have mine. And these are different. We can talk about the same thing, and we think we're talking about the same thing, but we're looking from a different angle.
Yeah. So how can you make sure that there's a shared understanding of what that looks like, collaboration in an organization?
Having conversations. I think that is where it starts.
Yeah.
Asking questions. I need to understand your worldview and you need to understand mine.
Yeah.
And then, well, the result of that is that there can be something which is bigger and, well, what can work.
Yeah.
Particularly when we come into situations where there will be conflict. Because your ideas won't always align with mine.
Yeah.
The ideas of the team won't always align with anything which is outside the team.
Yeah.
And the only way by getting this is not by taking stands, but by asking questions.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
And particularly in DevOps, we stimulate diversity. We like to have people from different backgrounds. Simply, we like development people to work with operations people and with business people.
Yeah.
So these are three groups with a complete different background, complete different education. So if you want them to collaborate, there should be this higher goal.
Yeah.
Where they all want to work towards and they all feel motivated and stimulated to do so.
Yeah.
But they should understand their different views because they won't always agree with each other. Having good conversations, focusing on the why and understanding each other is a key step.
Yeah, so listening, understanding, and making sure you have that shared goal together. Yeah.
And that sounds simple. But we're all humans. We're all humans.
Well, I guess leadership plays an important role in that as well, don't we, in creating those conditions. So if we turn to that for a moment, with DevOps being very much about change, then a transformational leadership style would seem to be well suited to the DevOps leader.
Yeah.
But what does it take to be a good transformational leader?
Well, I think it's important that you lead by example. I mean, also that's an open door and everybody knows it. Also, leaders are human.
Yeah.
So also leaders need to learn how to do this, I think.
Yeah.
And some have more talent for that than maybe than others. And I think, again, it starts with the why, so it starts with the vision. If there's not a clear why on why we want this transformation, and why DevOps is going to help us, and why we want different behavior and a different way the organization is structured. If you don't have a clear vision on that, and you can't articulate the vision, I think it's difficult for people to understand and to follow this.
Yeah.
So I think there's a tremendous effort and a lot of time necessary for a DevOps leader to bring this message across.
Yeah.
Not only having the vision, but being able to communicate it to the organization.
You mentioned before about the importance of autonomous teams.
Yeah.
But what does that require in terms of leadership style to be able to facilitate that a team is largely self-steering?
Yeah. Well, I'm a father of two sons, 15 and 18 years. I think I have to do the same process. I have to let go. I can't control it everything.
Yeah.
And I think that is a challenging thing for leaders.
Yeah.
Maybe there are leaders that can do this easily, but I think if we talk about leadership, we're not talking about one person in the organization. We have different levels of leadership, different people that need to let go of control.
Yeah.
And that's difficult because maybe I'm a leader and I can let go of control, but maybe my boss, my manager finds it difficult, or even maybe shareholders find it difficult. So in the whole, well, you can't say chain of command because it's not what we want, but in every layer, I think it's important to let go and give room to the teams to experiment, to make mistakes, to do it their way. And maybe it's not about letting go of control.
Yeah.
I think it's about finding another way of control. Yeah. So there's no control by telling how to do it. It's not control by having big reports about progress and status.
Yeah.
But it's going to the teams, being maybe stepping in their daily stand-ups, have a look at their Kanban board and see what they're working on.
Yeah.
What we say in Lean Go to Gemma, I think is something that also applies to DevOps.
Yeah. So understanding better, connecting with them, but not micromanaging and controlling like we used to do in that rules-based.
And creating, facilitating an environment where all this behavior and these values that we find important can flourish and can grow.
Yeah, and I think you use an important word there, facilitating. That it's more about empowerment and facilitation. That's in the new leadership style that's needed for the generative culture.
Yeah, well, I think it's important that you want to do it. So it's about motivation.
Yeah.
You need to be able to do it, have the ability to do it. So it might be by means of training and coaching.
Yeah.
And all the other, systems around it in the organization, reporting structures, reward structures, if they are not aligned with these new culture and these new values, then it's not going to work. So that is, I think, a role of a DevOps leader, taking away all those barriers, facilitating new behavior in line with the culture.
You mentioned training and coaching. I can't help but pull it out.
No.
The skills development side, I guess, is very important in that, isn't it? Because the leaders need to have the right skills, but also the team needs to understand that new way of working with the behaviours.
Yeah.
So I guess the skills side is an important part of making sure you've got those right conditions for success.
Yeah, for sure. And the understanding that these skills are not built overnight.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand, it's important to have training courses where you be taught these skills, but also it requires continuous learning and repeating and coaching on the workflow, because it takes time to build and acquire new skills.
Yeah, learning never stops.
Learning never stops, no, and changing old habits and learning new ones takes time, particularly the more softer ones, which are very important for DevOps.
Yeah. Well, maybe learning never stops is a great place to end it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to us today. It's been very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.